Continuing with the outline into this video, I want to continue with a chapter in the book called The Miracles, where I approach some of the miracles of this figure of Jesus, which are the most sort of mind-bending, more fringe, more out of the norm that I could find, because a lot of what is written in ancient scriptures comes out as a miracle. So when this figure of Jesus, he withered a fig tree, that was supposed to be a miracle. The healings are supposed to be a miracle. The quote-unquote resurrection was supposed to be a miracle. But the ones that I approach in this chapter are mainly about how he literally multiplied bread and fish, and how he was walking on water, the more paranormal, sort of out of the norm things. Now, again, of course, this sounds like crazy talk, and perhaps it is, but what I want to do with this part of the outline, as I'm coming back to review some of these ancient scriptures, is to see where those, the texts, the sayings, the beliefs in these ancient scriptures, and I started with Christianity. The second part of the outline is gonna be Eastern Buddhism ideas. I'm gonna go into Hinduism. I want to go even into Sumerian and some of these other more mythological ancient philosophies and ancient scriptures, where we can see the correlation of these newer theories on consciousness and on reality itself, with quantum physics, with the research, the actual research and data that we have at hand, and how do they correlate with these ancient philosophies. As I said, a lot of people get this channel wrong when they think that I am trying to make an apology for Christianity, and that I believe the nonsense, and I believe the miracles are real, and I believe in fairy tales and whatnot. But what I'm looking at is at the research and what actually ties in together. As I said, when I started to write the outline, what I wanted to do was to discard Christianity and to find everything that made no sense and simply discard it, as I was going to move on forward with the more scientific research. But instead, what I found was that a lot of the sayings, a lot of the scriptures tie up with some other scriptures in the world, and when you look at it deeply and you go to their original languages, like in Greek, you start finding certain patterns that I found very, very interesting, and this is what the bulk of the outline is. So in this video, I'm going to be speaking about these miracles, mainly the first one, where Jesus supposedly multiplied bread and water. And what I want to focus on here is in what would be the conditions necessary for something like this to happen, to literally bend the rule set of reality. Could this be possible in our current world? Why? Why not? And could it be possible in a different frame of reality? Before I move forward, I would like to remind you that if you want to join the growing discussion on consciousness and would like to be notified on the latest scientific discoveries and theories surrounding this topic and how they connect to ancient mythologies and philosophies, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, as I'll try to upload at least one video per week as I continue with the outline. Alright, so this story in the scriptures is quite interesting. It's the first one that truly breaks, the pattern of reality, the fabric of reality, and just one of the importance of these types of accounts in the scriptures is to differentiate of a Jesus who is a healer, who acts in righteousness, who, he is some sort of a philosopher, of an esoteric teacher, into someone who literally broke the parameters of reality and literally manifested bread out of thin air like a magician. This is something that, one of the things that happen in the scriptures is that people start to get scared. A lot of people turn their back on Jesus because they think that he is crazy. There's something wrong with this person because he's doing these things that are so strange to them. And this is all over the scriptures, especially as it goes forward towards the end, where he starts going into deeper things, into things that people don't understand, and he gets frustrated. It's in my opinion, this adds veracity to the story, because this is how normal people would react to this, to something paranormal, to something out of the norm. But in any case, so In the story, he goes to pray after John the Baptist was beheaded. John the Baptist presumably was his teacher, and you tie the Intigen part of this as the work from Brian Moresco. I think he speaks about this, that Intigen Jews in the ancient Christian cults was probably a thing, and perhaps that's how Jesus himself even got started into his path. But in any case, the story clearly states that Jesus wanted to feed the people who followed him to that mount. So he told his disciples to give them food, to give food to the people. And he started healing people and helping people. And he said, you need to feed them, to his disciples. And disciples said to him, we only have 2 loaves and 5 fish, something of that nature, just a small amount of food, and there were hundreds, thousands even of people following Jesus. So the story goes on to say that the people sat down in hundreds and fifties in small groups, and then Jesus looked up into the heavens and he thanked for the food. He blessed the food. This is one of the reasons why Christians bless the food. And it's sort of like, if you go to the origins of the word, Jesus, I think, something like that, just speak well of the food. It's a spell, it's a ritual. This is what he did. He gave thanks for the food to the heavens, and then he started to break off the loaves, which were 5 loaves and 2 fish. I got that wrong the first time. And he just started breaking this food and just sharing it with the people in groups little by little, and he kept on going, like he was literally manifesting the food out of thin air. The story goes on to say that they divided these 2 fish and these 5 loaves amongst almost 5,000 people, and they had baskets full of these items at the end of the ritual or whatever happened. They had like a lot of food. So what the scriptures are saying here is that there was actual spontaneous manifestation of physical matter, the fish and the loaves. This is something that is fringe, out of the norm, completely ridiculous, completely a bunch of BS, would a lot of people say. They will say these are fairy tales, this is why Christianity is so wrong, they tell people fairy tales, this is absolutely impossible, why would they even do this? But when you look at the details, when you start looking at the newer research on these altered states of consciousness that I focus upon a lot, lately that I've been doing the UFO research as well, when you go into the themes of the UFO research, a lot of the experiences say that these encounters, these abductions, these sort of experiences happen in a semi-physical plane. It's not really a physical plane, but it's some sort of an in-between, a different frame of reality, where they have all these experiences, also with antigens and with all the other altered states of consciousness. They have these amazing, fantastic experiences where they are shoot out into hyperspace, they do all these strange things, and then they simply wake up. Like it was just a dream, which felt more real than reality, which is a lot of what the people from coming back from NDEs and so on and so forth are saying. So when I started looking at these things in the scriptures, especially as it goes forward towards the transfiguration and towards the resurrection, you start seeing these items, and it is actually mentioned in the scriptures. There's a part in the transfiguration which I will cover, and it is in the further chapters ahead, where when Jesus goes to this quote unquote transfiguration, he becomes light, literally a being of light, which is something that is also in near-death experiences and in the UFO phenomenon, seeing these beings of pure light. And in the scriptures it says that the 2 beings of light came with Jesus, and they had some sort of a meeting. Somewhere along the lines, I'm going to go into that further in the future, but that's not the topic of this video right now. Somewhere along the lines, there's a line saying that the disciples, quote unquote, were heavy with sleep. The word used, if you go deeper into the translation, it is specified as something called sleep torpor. More accurate, it's called spiritual torpor, and the word in Greek used is hypnos, which was the word for sleep, the idea of sleep. In Greek mythology, hypnos and thanatos, and there's another one for the night, for sleep, for death, this altered state, this state of consciousness, experiences that they're talking about here. So this leads us to believe that there was an altered state of consciousness happening here. And if you go through some of the other ancient scriptures, the same thing happened with Muhammad, the prophet for Islam. When he saw this angel, he was meditating, he was into a deep state of trance, and that's where he started to feel this electrical current going through him, and then he saw this thing. The same thing happens when people are about having out-of-body experiences. This is written in Robert Monroe's book. He feels this electricity going all throughout his body, and then they are shoot out of their body, and they having all of these strange experiences. Now, as I said, this is something that I'm gonna cover, but this idea of being in a different state of consciousness, this is in the research on entheogens as well, the different brain waves. It has been confirmed, and I'm gonna be making this video in the future as well as I continue with the research on DMT and all these entheogens. When people are going through psychedelics, through a psychedelic state, their brain waves shift into theta, which is where people are heavy with sleep, where people are dreaming. They are in theta wave mode. That happens when people are in this psychedelic experience and they see the entities and everything. So I think we are beginning to find out what's happening here and how we are operating in different frames of reality. So do I believe that Jesus actually manifested bread out of thin air? This is an argument that I use often because, in the scriptures, Jesus said a lot of things. He said, if you tell the mountain to move, it'll move. You'll be like lightning floating in the sky and all these sort of things, right? So when people ask me, do you believe in the paranormal? Do you believe in these miracles? Do you believe in these things? Are you actually saying that this is real? My argument is, can you fly in real life? No, you can't. There are rules. There's a rule set to our reality. There is a specified rule set to our reality that does not allow anything out of our conventional physics to happen. But can you fly in a dream? Do you have a body in a dream? Can you have a conscious experience in a dream? You can even have feelings, touching things in your dreams. You can have smells sometimes in the dreams, or what you perceive as a smell, or what you perceive as touch, because your brain is the one ultimately creating all of these feelings, the way that we interact with our physical world. So all the data is in your brain. So in your brain, if you create your own body, if you create an object that you can grab, you are feeling it in this frame of reality. Now, as I said, a lot of this research on altered states of consciousness speak about this in-between place, these bardos as they were called as well, when people are having this, these UFO abductions where they see beings of light who tell them about, the cosmos, and they share information with them, or people who are going through entheogens. They speak about these frames of reality. It's even in the actual UFO, the actual things, they say that these ships can come into existence and then vanish in front of your eyes because they are something completely different to what we currently understand. Now, am I suggesting here that perhaps Jesus took all of these people into a different frame of reality to have this happen? Maybe. Could it have happened in the real world? Could spontaneous manifestation, creation, which was deemed something impossible, could it happen in the real world? When you think about the rule set of reality and some of the latest theories on reality, when you look into quantum physics and into the most prominent theory currently, which is that of the holographic universe, the idea that the universe is literally rendering for each one of us as we go through conscious life experiences. We even have Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about this. We have a lot of current scientists talking about this possibility, the multiverse theory, the reality of quantum physics. I made that video on the double slit experiment and how we're seeing within the double slit experiment the in between of the non-physical turn into physical. I'm gonna link it somewhere on the screen. When you go through all of these ideas, and there's a lot of there are a lot of theories, a lot of research that suggests that what you look at with your eyes is actually data that your brain is reconstructing and it's creating it for you. Nothing really exists. Everything is made of particles, which are at the end of the day data. We are processing the world, the real material world as we see it. Now, if you told me that there was this one being who could be way more advanced than us in his evolutionary path, which could manage these little bits and pieces of reality, could he manifest things out of thin air? If you go through the research as well, when you go into the themes of lucid dreaming, out of body experiences, people who are very well versed on this, who have practice in this and can do it at will, they will tell you that what happens when you go out of body is that you can think about anything and it will manifest in front of you. People who go through near-death experiences, they go into these fields where when they think about something, they are transferred into a different realm, into a different reality. They can literally manifest anything with their thoughts. That's where the New Age idea comes from. The idea that you can manifest things with your thoughts. But the literature on this thing, and now I'm speculating. I'm speaking about the fringe here. Is that here on Earth we have all these rule set. There's a purpose for this rule set, and we cannot manifest straight away because one, it would be a little bit too chaotic, especially if we don't know how to do this, and perhaps we are learning how to manage this energy, as Robert Monroe said in his books. He said that life is a school, not only for love, not only for understanding consciousness, not only for understanding that we're all one, but also to manage energy and to watch for our own creations. Now, could there be a being who is so advanced that might have been able to manifest out of thin air? I have mentioned before one of the theories from a teacher from the Monroe Institute, from Robert Monroe. His name is William Bowman, and one of the things he says and he writes about is this idea that we are creating our own realities as a collective. And when you die, according to him, you go into these different collectives and you can be in different realms, different places in between these, you could call them bardos as well, where people have their own societies. There's this afterlife, there are different afterlives, and people create collectively what they perceive to be their reality. And if you are in tune with them, you can go with them and you can take part into these societies. This is something that William Bowman states. Now, the idea of this collective consciousness, of this collective creation of reality, is something that is congruent with some of the things that I've seen in the scriptures. Every time when this figure of Jesus is asking people, do you think I can heal you? And he always makes sure that they understand what's going on. He takes them into secluded places. He puts them into groups of so many people, and he spreads the bread little by little so they don't notice that anything wrong is happening. Because if it was just as easy, he would just manifest a platter full of food. a banquet if you want, and everybody would just go and grab this infinite magical buffet that Jesus is creating. But perhaps if they would see that there's something wrong with that, if it wouldn't fit their idea of reality of what makes sense, perhaps everything would vanish into thin air and he wouldn't have been able to create these things. Now, I'm throwing a lot of speculation, I'm throwing a lot of nonsense in this video because I want people to get curious and to start researching these things, and they go and Google William Bullman, and they go and Google Robert Monroe and his books and what he said about this. I want people to get interested in the UFO phenomenon and how a lot of people are speaking about these highly advanced beings and the correlation between the afterlife, the non-physical existence, and the UFO alien phenomenon. A lot of people say, and this is in some of these more, shall I say, classified sort of documents which are just beginning to appear in social media, that these agencies are just putting forward to the public. Like the one from the Gateway Project, which has to do with Robert Monroe and his studies in the Monroe Institute. I spoke about this, how this research on consciousness is going mainstream. I'm gonna link it somewhere on the screen right now. They speak about this reality being holographic and some government institutions actually acknowledging this, that we might be living some sort of holographic reality, and yeah, there is an afterlife and there is life outside the body. So I want people to go into all of these things and sort of shift their mindset to start to accept things that could be real beyond our physical material world, because the research is pointing towards it. Now, do I believe that Jesus actually manifested bread out of thin air? I don't know. I don't know what to believe about this because I have no proof. But when I go into the research on altered states of consciousness, and people are saying the same thing, and I see it written over and over and over, of these beings being able to come through the walls, these beings being able to visit you in dreams, these beings contacting you when you are under the state of entheogens, and everybody's saying the same thing. The research on the UFO phenomenon, and the research on the near-death experience research, and the out-of-body experience research, they're saying the same thing. We are not our bodies. Physical reality is just one frame of reality. There are multiple frames of reality. There's something much larger going on in reality than we think. And if we start understanding this, we could literally change the future, our future as species. So that is the purpose of this video. I don't know if Jesus actually manifested bread out of thin air. There are things that get more complicated as I go in this first part of the outline, where I speak about Jesus and what is written in the Bible, which a lot of people think is nonsense and so on. But if they went through all of this research that I'm mentioning, they would all think that it's nonsense. But when you see it over and over and over and over and over again, and you see it in ancient scriptures, and then different lines of research which are completely opposite, which are completely further away from each other, they are saying sort of the same thing. You start drawing a setup, a base that allows you to understand perhaps more of what's going on, and that is the purpose of this outline. If you're on the path of finding the truth about reality and our purpose as humans on Earth, the information that I have to share concerns you. After a lifetime of research in philosophies ranging from Buddhism to the occult, I've encountered themes and patterns along some baffling information that is beginning to be seriously studied by science. Our Rational Divine Outline, The Ghost of Jesus, is the first iteration of this project, where I analyze the message of Jesus without dogmatism, fanaticism, or religious bias. You can find my work available on Amazon on the link below. If you find this work valuable, consider subscribing, sharing, and following me on social media, as it'll help others in the same path to find this information. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.